Welcome to Spiritual Nuggets Podcast, where you have the opportunity to enjoy His presence in miniature portions. These are not oversized, repetitive expressions that lose their value. They are nuggets, larger than a crumb, yet small enough for you to enjoy in a single sitting. So, take a moment to listen and let these nuggets feed your soul. Hello, and welcome back to the Spiritual Nuggets Podcast. I'm your host, Yvonne Mallory, and I'm so grateful you've joined me for another heartfelt episode. Before we dive into episode 7, I want to take a moment to shine a light on two amazing people who are a big part of what makes this podcast possible. I'm talking about my marketing team, Alan and Debra Armijo of I Trust Marketing. Alan and Debra have helped shape the way Spiritual Nuggets reach you, from the website to the email updates and social media, and now through this podcast. Their expertise and encouragement have been essential in helping me grow this platform. So today, I'm turning the spotlight on them so you can hear more about how this all came together and why they believe in this message as much as I do. Alan and Debra, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Hi, Yvonne. Thanks for having us on your podcast.
What were your first impressions when we talked about launching a podcast as an extension of the written nuggets?
Personally, I think it's a great idea. It gives people an option, but it also gets it out more out on the internet, and people have a choice whether they want to listen to it, and then also come to the website and read it.
On top of that, it gives you a wider audience because people can listen to it wherever they get their podcasts, on Apple, Amazon, whatever they feel comfortable catching podcasts. There's hundreds of ways they can do it.
I also noticed that people miss a lot of things when you're reading something, but when you listen, it makes a difference. You catch little nuggets that you missed before.
I actually prefer to listen. When I go on a run, I listen to podcasts all the time. I can't sit still to read as easily.
I like both. I like having the choice, and it just depends where I'm at. If I'm sitting down, I can read it. If I'm away from the computer or, just carrying my phone around, I can listen to it. So it's convenient.
You work with many different clients. What stood out to you about this project, and how is it different, and I mean different, from your usual work?
Well, we have our own podcast, B2B Synergy, which is interviewing business people for the most part. And the functionality is the same, the process is the same, but the subject matter is totally different. You have your own unique content and your own audience. All podcasts are really the same. It's really what the content's about and what they prefer to listen to.
And I think, too, if no matter what you're listening to, especially with yours, if you can help one person, even at one point through your podcast, I think that's a really good thing. It's like meeting someone for a second. It can, change your life. And I think with your podcasts are really to help and inspire people.
Many of my nuggets are just personal experiences. I always try to bring myself into the podcast, into the nugget, because I want people to know that I've experienced what I'm telling them. It's not just, someone preaching. I'm kind of like sharing with them my own personal, real life experience when it comes to this, to speaking in the podcasts.
Well, that's why we listen to your nuggets, and we're looking forward to reading your book because you have your own style, and I've never really kind of heard your style before, and the fact that your podcasts, your nuggets are like less than 8 minutes. So it really doesn't take a long time to listen to what your message is. So I think the podcast is a good tool for people who kind of are on the run. They need the spiritual guidance or message without having to take an hour out of their day.
The way I feel about, I know it's from your heart, Yvonne. I've known you for a long time, and I've heard some of your stories, and now that you have them written down and on the podcast, I mean, it's really sincere, and I love how you're, you're exposing a lot, so it's of yourself. So I know it's helping people out there.
Occasionally I'll get emails telling me that my last podcast, someone said, "You certainly enlightened me." That was a great comment because I never know whether someone gets anything out of this or not unless they send me an email. But I appreciated that very much. And by the way, thanks for mentioning my book that should be done, complete, finished by September of this year, hopefully. If not, I'll let you know. But that's where we are. We've got a cover, and we're in the proof stage. So hopefully you'll see something and hear something more about my book as it gets closer to the release time.
Great. What is your podcast number 7 about?
It's an interesting topic. It's called "Why Don't I Get What I Deserve?" The word deserve means that you think you're entitled. But this particular message says that we're not really entitled to anything. And so this is the kind of the message that I'm telling you why we're not entitled to anything.
Yeah. And how do you describe the people who kind of survive these harrowing situations, by luck or by grace?
It's definitely undeserved marital favor. It's called grace, divine grace. This is something that I don't deserve, but that it has been given to me free of charge.
Well, I think you get that point across in the article.
Well, thank you so much, Debra and Alan. Thank you. You guys are remarkable. And believe me, when I say it would never exist without you, I really mean it. So thanks again for being on my podcast.
Okay. Thank you.
Why don't I get what I deserve? A couple of weeks ago, the young son of a friend was in a serious automobile accident. Witnesses who saw the crash pulled him from his car before it caught on fire. Miraculously, he survived and is recovering in the ICU. A soldier who lost both of his legs as a result of a bomb explosion while deployed in Afghanistan wins the gold medal in the Special Olympics. A young female afflicted with a paralyzing disease is confined to lying on her back for the remainder of her life. Her sense of humor inspires the entire staff of the rehabilitation facility. Several years ago, a young woman gave birth to a son with multiple physical and health-related challenges. Fast forward, this child is now an electrical engineer. By today's standards, these incidents would be labeled nothing short of miraculous grace. But what do we call waking up every day? Standing on our own legs and feet, going to the bathroom, taking a shower, brushing our teeth, eating meals, safely going to and coming from a job, starting our car filled with gas, doing errands, enjoying our spouses, children, and family members, and a list of other things that would take much more space to mention. I call this the gift of divine grace. This gift, granted by God, is available to everyone. It is not based on how religious you are, how often you attend church, how many kind acts you do, or how often you sin. Grace comes from within the Spirit of God and is entirely founded upon His nature of love. He gives it because it is the nature of His blessing. It is available for all. The very gift of life is rooted in God's grace through Jesus Christ. Unlike man's grace, God's grace is active and filled with power. During Paul's third heaven experience, he was touched by the Lord with a painful thorn in his flesh. He asked the Lord to release him from the harassment of this evil messenger. Confirming the extent of his love, God told Paul that the unsurpassed power of His grace would overcome any obstacles or weaknesses Paul would face. Paul's faith was spurred to staggering heights, determined to accept any attack and become more boastful about his challenges so that he might experience the awesome power of Christ. The Bible clearly encourages works and good deeds. Helpfulness to others, caring for others, GoFundMe campaigns, even the acts of the greatest humanitarians in the world cannot pay for God's grace. It is a gift, and this gift is an attitude within God Himself. Rahab the prostitute, the woman caught in adultery, the Gentile woman of Canaan, the prodigal son, each tasted the grace of God. The young man spared from death in the auto accident and not a believer in Christ freely admitted that having his life spared was undeserved grace from the Lord. I have no doubt that, like mine, the life journey of each person is filled with experiences where God's safekeeping, preservation, abundance, and healing intervened. The grace of the Lord is to be experienced with perfect trust and dependence upon Him for everything. There is nothing we are doing or will do in the future that deserves the undeserved blessings from God through Christ. We are to become as little children, looking to our eternal loving Father in confidence for everything: strength, healing, forgiveness, guidance, love, joy, peace, and faithfulness. We are to express thankfulness for every day we spend on earth enjoying His everlasting grace. Remember, God's grace does not depend upon what we deserve, but His love always gives us what we need.